We are tailing off the third day of mixed play here at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships in the slightly blustery Nottingham. I am Gigi Morrison, joined in the booth by Hannah Pendlebury. We've got Colombia versus Australia in the mixed division. We're into power pool play now, Hannah. How's the tournament going so far?
Oh, it is really starting to heat up, Gigi. We have a spicy matchup between Australia and Colombia, and it's going to be a heckin' time of it. Australia not having quite the results we anticipated coming out of them, the Blue Bottles, as they're named. Sort of coming short a little bit, had a couple of really tight and universe point finishes against some of the upper power pool teams, so they're fighting to keep themselves in pre-quarter finals, as you see them there on the line. With some players with some armbands that you will notice. We'll talk a little bit about why those are being worn a little bit later on the live stream. But certainly this is going to be a game that Australia will want to win and get their sort of first on the board. Indeed, pools, looking at them as we have them now, because it's nice to be in the power pool stage. This is where things start to get exciting and meaningful. Of course, the US and Singapore yet to face any defeats, alongside Switzerland in their power pool G.
We streamed Singapore this morning against Sweden. It was a very tight game, a lot of calls, super exciting, but now we bring in the opening pull from Colombia. Australia starting on offense. Some poaching in the handler set from Colombia, but Australia making easy work. Chen centers to Carpenter. Stall count rising, having to look for the inside shot and takes it. Susanga. Picked off by Colombia, just outside the Australian end zone.
Well, a very, very bizarre one there. Langston sort of seemed to stop in motion, but great defensive pressure, certainly getting the game plan underway.
Colombia now starting off, opting for the deep shots. And picked off by Langston. It's a game so far, back and forth turnovers. Good poachy defense from Colombia to start off with, having to go to grass to pick that one up, securing that in the chest. Carpenter finding Sadiq, some contact, but ignored the clean turn instead. Sadiq then picks that off.
Well, one of the players to watch for this game certainly will be Abdul Sadiq, noted by his coaches as someone who actually put a lot of time into the preparation ahead of this tournament. And a spicy player to watch. Alongside, of course, also James Wu, the number 2. 82-2 for your male matching Australian D.
You got one hand. I came through and got it first.
I clearly had. I think I had.
You're not persuading me. You're talking to each other, not to me.
Would you like to suspend it?
No, I can just.
So you're going to keep test?
Yeah.
Some advice from the game advisors. They're able to provide their perspective and some rules clarification, as Dan Godbold, the game advisor involved there, was able to say, don't convince me, convince your player.
Perhaps kind of going for the observer mindset a little bit more than the game advisors. Of course, WFDF rule set, we don't have observers that can really make those game-changing calls. It's the GAs as game advised to just remind the players and help them make decisions. But a little bit of spectator action from the European Masters Hockey Championships behind us, as we have another call, a travel.
Using the WFDF hand signals, I do very much appreciate when players are able to communicate that clearly.
It kind of makes you want to do the hustle. It's a real disco vibe, the travel hand signal.
You can use your full body for it. Colombia using their bodies to sprint this disc down. Pizada throws it across to Prieto. Toledo stuck on the sideline, some contacts in the force from Sadiq.
across, both of you moving forwards into each other.
So I was moving into.
I think you were both moving across. Accepted.
Mark Dangobod already getting his money's worth, GA in this game, alongside Jana Hamaka.
Great discussions. Beautiful inside shot on the second reception, just off the fingertips, having to then sprint deep to find their mark. Looking deep immediately, soaring around backhand into the safe hands of Sadiq. Centimeters from the end zone, finds Carpenter for a dump option, over the top and sits! Posada, heads up! Posada picks up immediately, gets the disc moving. Gonzalez, the disc floats, and Sadiq using the ape index to his advantage.
I've got a pun in my back pocket for Sadiq's play, but I'm not going to bring it out yet because he's not been ridiculous enough at this stage in the game. But he will be, I'm sure.
Sanger opens up the arm for himself. Beautiful shot. Langston just outside the end zone. Dumps it off to Upton. Upton bobbled! But Chen, safe reception. Almost having to take a breath on the ground. Australia, 1-0.
Well, it was a long old point to get us there. A clutch full of turns, 8 turnovers total in that point. So some adjustments required for the O-line of the Aussies. Let's have a look back at that point. Carpenter with 2 sort of turnovers. The first was a nail gun of a flick. Posada opening up that big arm and picking off. And then the big shot. Lovely one here for Langston. See the way she tracks it beautifully, uses the frame nicely. And here for the redemption to the bobble. And then a great clutch grab for Elizabeth Chen, just action rolling herself around in that end zone. An ellipsis player, the second place at AEC D1 this year. And she actually got Rookie of the Year on her club team. It's about Georgia Egan-Griffiths as one of her sporting heroes. Of course, anyone who watched the World Games last season will know exactly who that player is.
So Colombia now bringing their O-line out. Facing up against what looks to be an arrowhead-style zone from Australia. Lots of pop passes, Villalobos.
Well, this is a very blustery side-wind pitch, as anyone who's been enjoying this content so far this week will be fully aware of, so unsurprising to see an Aussie zone to use that element as the 8th part of their defense.
Marulanda on this close sideline. Lots of defenders. Takes the wide arcing shot to Ariño, captain of this Colombian team. Barragan. Villalobos back to Barragan. Quick give goal passes between the two. Bidding defender. Wu wanting to get a piece of that. And Colombia doing well to dictate the offense here. Slight travel call. Checking back in. Wanting the quick pop give go passes and just moving the force around.
Well, it's a really good one to use the passive arrowhead zone against the Colombian small ball style. These coaches have been saying about this Colombian mixed team, they have been training different styles of offense. They are looking to be a little bit more huck heavy. Is that a great redemption?
The backup from Ariño for his teammate. High release flick across the end zone. Single hand grab, well received on the second attempt, Cancino. You could see what that meant for her.
I mean, what it meant for her, but what it meant for everybody watching that. It was almost like she had it on a pizza platter above her head. Trailing edge, backwards catch. I mean, acrobatic scenes for 2 female matching players in the same part of the end zone, making absolute scenes, and the re-catch off the knee. My, oh my, well, we knew we were going to get a thriller of a game here in mixed power pools, Gigi, and we're already delivering.
You could see, again, the fist pump of joy. Her falling backwards guaranteed. Her maintaining control of the disc. Beautiful play.
Well, fun fact, Cancino has only been playing for a year and a half, so 18 months of ultimate instruction. The development put into her has been absolutely phenomenal. And she's originally from Bogota.
A lot of this team is based out of Bogota at the moment. A lot of the Colombian teams you'll find are very community-based. They try to maintain that as a big ethos across all of the divisions. Rolling pull, fielded by Sadiq. Trying to get some quick give-go passes between the handler sets. Strachan dumps across to Upton. Deeps, well, the cut's setting up from quite deep down into the pitch. Sadiq corks open the arm to Upton. Perfect shots, giving Australia the second point of the game.
And in much faster fashion, that's a better execution for sure. A clean hold for the Aussies just to sort of settle the ship. I've almost forgotten how long that initial point was with its 8 turnovers.
Yeah, both teams warming up into it, but Sadiq saw the deep option that he wanted from Upton and took it on, but the stack was set quite far down the pitch. They allowed for the handler sets to continue to jink and jive and squirrel up and down in that space, giving a lot of give-go options to provide that space across the pitch laterally and then taking that deep option. Beautiful.
Well, there were some pretty tall-statured players for Colombia, but of course one of the big threats with Aussie Mixed is to make sure that they do not have the opportunity to just bomb it into the deep space. And that was an excellent just show of why you want to stop them from doing that. It looked very easy, that score.
I remember from personal experience in 2018 in Perth, losing the quarterfinal against Australia Under-24 mixed. They utilised their deep players very well.
Well, and the throws to go with them as well, as we see some tight match coverage from the green and gold.
Acosta, apologies, Criollo. Looking for Ariño, inside backhand, ever so slight air bounce. Giron to Acosta. It's been a pick call. There's White of Marulanda. Checked back in. Marulanda having to go to ground. Has the deep option, but holsters that. Criollo. Villalobos back to Marulanda. Has been generated from the front of Stag, the flying bids. My word, congratulatory tap on the back, Richard Lee.
You can see the way that Lee sort of picks his moment to pounce there, almost like he was baiting that one, just sitting on the back shoulder, being like, yeah, this looks like an attractive option to throw to, doesn't it? Oh no!
Full extension.
And a nice way to take that aggression. Aggressive lines on up-line shots are really, really important if you want to get yourself a block.
Power position throw, floating. Multiple defenders and receivers underneath, having to clatter over each other, but no call made. Colombia picking up the disc immediately. Ariño opening up the arm himself, has Acosta going deep. And Marulanda for support, but that was a few meters too far.
Yeah, a really lovely option developing. 2 players and acres of room, but just hasty on the release. Half a heartbeat later, and that would have been a goal.
So Australia have the whole pitch to work with. Lee picks up and centres. Has the front of stack cut off immediately, flutters it. There was going to be a travel call, but that disc soaring to turf. Rodolanda finds the forehand break shot to Acosta. High release to the other side, a big fake. Carino. Safe hands from Giron into the front of the end zone. Evens 2-2. Criollo for the score for Colombia.
Yeah, nice tambourine celebration there. Criollo. Indeed, another, as we already mentioned, of these Bogota players. But again, not the cleanest hold for the Colombians, but they'll celebrate it in style regardless. Lovely pickup in the centre here. Sort of takes it in stride. Oftentimes when you're kind of catching like that sort of territory, you can sort of strip yourself by bashing the disc out of your hands with your knees. But a calm, cool, collected, just nice lateral movement flowing into the end zone from the far side.
Colombia are big fans of the puppy give-go passes.
Absolutely. Well, that's Colombia in general. That's the style that we've expected to come out of them. They are now trying to be a bit more expansive, as we said earlier, and kind of the biggest challenge about coming to Nottingham for Colombia is that Colombia, of course, not super well known for having windy conditions. So, aside from trying to find a giant fan and, practice your throws into it, they've spent the 4 days ahead of this tournament in Nottingham just working on their technical skills of how to execute in these windy situations. And of course, Nottingham home of wind farm definitely has plenty of that.
That ball floated wonderfully down towards the end zone as this disc from Sadiq goes into the end zone itself. And Posada picks that off. Decided Australia aren't going to get the score that easily. Pointing deep, wanting the shot for himself. But Holsters instead trying to dictate Gonzalez to cut closer. The break around was tipped off. Upton taking that away. Sadiq wanting Sanger. Instead chooses Upton. Quick up the line. Cuts Upton. That is some convincing and decisive ultimate.
Yeah, a bit of Upton funk on that front corner. Going up, lots of junior experience for Jake Upton. Played under-22s back in 22, of course. That being the local tournament, which I believe clashes with the event here in Nottingham, the under-22 championships back home down under. But certainly a lovely piece of footwork, that front corner. As he hides from our sideline camera. Cheeky, cheeky. But they're two connecting twice already, those two. Abdul Sadiq there in your shot at number 82, already making a big impact on this game.
Yeah, he's certainly been the player to watch for this Aussie side, collecting the most stats so far for his team.
I'm also quite impressed with the work of Shannon Carpenter and Ava Strachan in kind of the backhander space as well, keeping the disc nice and flowing for the Aussies, but this is much better form for them. Their last game against Chinese Taipei earlier today, the coaches were saying it was one of those ones where they didn't have the control of themselves for Australia. They sort of, yes, Chinese Taipei played very well, but certainly they left a lot to be desired when they had the disc. They didn't really take their opportunities and had some personal errors. So this is a lot cleaner.
So Arino fielded the pull, landing into his chest. Giron taking on the deep shot for himself, Madurlanda, but that has been tipped up. Can he get it again? Yes, he tries to jump it in. Unsure whether it has been definitely called, but there is a player down.
Yeah, I think that bid winded a little bit. Is it White? Got that inhuman block that unfortunately just tipped it. See there, just puts the hand out. I don't know if there was really much opportunity for him to make the clutch grab. There may be a discussion as to whether that one was jumped in or a travel.
It's being called as a goal.
Start the clock for injury.
So the game clock doesn't stop until an injury has been on the field for more than 2 minutes.
Thankfully, sitting up, that one has been signalled as a goal. But Hiron opening up the arm. It was quite a low forehand, so I'm not too surprised that the Australian defender managed to get a piece on it. And Marulanda with the heads-up awareness, making sure that it didn't just go to grass and sink into the ground, but catch him for the second reception, getting the jump in, bring it back up to 3-3.
Well, both teams are definitely generating proper blocks. That one, a bit unfortunate for Harrison White. You know, I say only he will know if that was a catchable one, if he maybe tried to slap at it rather than snatch it out of the air, but a huge play for the Melbourne man. Of course, plays his club ultimate for Chile. In fact, there are 11 different clubs represented here by the Aussie mixed side. I'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, hopefully White will just be able to regain his breath and composure and return to make more scandalous plays like that.
You can just see in the background there some New Zealand kits. That's the additional coverage on Field 3 of New Zealand versus Belgium Open. You can catch that footage on Ultiworld.
Indeed, if you get your full access package for this tournament, or the extra bougie bonus subscription, which we highly recommend.
Sadiq and Sanger shepherding this offense. Two of them really dictating how they're moving everyone around them. Colombian defenders having to leap, but just fingertips away.
Cheeky boy, we love it.
Sadiq has some very convincing fakes. It's so effective against any sort of force that he's facing up against.
This is a solid choice of zone defense to play containment against the Aussies. There's a lot of creativity and swaz being shown out here on the pitch. It's give go and actually the middle, but I like it. It is slowing down the pace of the Aussie flow.
Sadiq does have Carpenter towards his left shoulder on this closest sideline to us as well, but opting not to do that, leading up the line into the begloved hands of Gabriel Eady.
Well, at the end of the day, if it works to play a little give-go, a true homeboy with lots of male matching players in that disc. But again, I don't dislike that choice from the Colombians. They made them throw a lot of passes there. Total tally of 31 completed passes, mind you. You know, not a kind of grindy point where there were lots of turnovers, but certainly able to slow down and keep the offense on the pitch for a longer period of time than those big booming backhands and flick hucks.
It's an interesting hybrid zone, because it's almost as if they set themselves up to be a more aggressive arrowhead style, but it's not coming across as aggressive as they're maybe intending. So it is forcing them to make more options. A containment zone, as you've mentioned, and it just increases that risk of them making an error. But in this case, it was completely clean.
More especially with the wind. It has died down in this game, hasn't been too much of a factor. Kind of more of a thrower's wind than the blustery, gustery, heave, ho, move the disc around constantly nonsense. So
Colombia having to answer to a very convincing Australian offense. Moving the disc through the center. Marulanda looks deep to Acosta. Acosta having to bid, but misreads just off the fingertips.
I think that might have been a misread a little bit earlier than the bid, to be honest. It kind of, obviously, when you're working down that small channel, you know, getting closer and closer towards the sideline, you do have to be mindful of where your feet are ending up. Nice chop stepping, but I think it was a little bit more, you know, power towards the disc might have been a secured catch so you can get the clap in for Acosta.
Inside break to Phillips. Lee with the visor takes the deep option. Marulanda, tiny pop in the air, slapping that down. Doesn't like that. Takes it for himself. Giron on our close sideline. Arino fakes the inside. Doesn't like the option. Takes the upline instead of Marulanda. Being forced backhand. Being forced into the wind. Increasing the risk of some sort of errant throws. There is a pick further into the end zone. This check back in. Marulanda available up the line. And a wide open Villalobos. Bringing the score back to evens, 4-4. This is such a tight matchup, Hannah.
Oh, and this is kind of the real theme of the tournament for Australia. They've had so many tight games. Certainly looking to keep their chances alive here in the power ball stage against a very capable and dynamic Colombian team. Of course, the under-24s don't always get the most reps ahead of the tournaments. It's certainly always a challenge, especially for the Colombian nation, to gather the resources to get here, the logistics, the funding. But it's nice to find in this stage at mixed power pools, we're getting some really commendable performances and they're gelling and melding together. Score update from the bonus pitch, Gigi. What's just happened for half-time?
I'm not going to reveal too much because I feel like if you want to watch the game, you should get the extra package subscription. But let's just say somebody's taken half, 8-0.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who, but it's exciting.
Pool B. Oh my goodness, that open division. What even? But well worth checking out some of the plays. We can see them occasionally in the back of our shot, just to tantalise you.
For Colombia pulling gender ratio, female matching majority.
And we love those gender pulling rules, really encouraging the development of big boss bomb prowess for female matching players. But that's a huge hand block. Oh my goodness.
That throw from Sadiq tipped off. You can see him looking at that deep option.
Well, you said, Gigi, about how much you like Sadiq's fakes. Clearly he needed one extra one for that possession.
Stylish pass to himself from Posada. There's some discussion as to what the call is
So
here.
it's a tractor call.
Okay.
So the stall is. All right, still then on 2. So still on 2.
That seems to be a retracted foul call that is coming in at the same stall count that it was called at initially, at least from my understanding. But play check back in. No problems caused. Gonzalez takes the open up line in Umania. Big imposing force. Sanga trying to get a leg in, Gonzalez having to go to ground. Sanga slashes around on force. Posada with a quick pop pass. Sneaky lefty. Throws the around forehand, and Colombia get the first break of the game, bringing it to 5-4.
Well, you say a sneaky lefty. Jacobo Posada is actually a left-handed player. He's not gone for the offhand glove look. He's gone for the throwing hand glove look and an offhand bare au naturel. And of course, if you want to get yourself a pair of ultimate gloves, layout gloves make some pretty good ones. Security and simplicity, but that was a really beautiful piece of offense. Patient from the Colombian D-line, just taking the options and changing that angle of attack. And again, that left. We don't talk about it enough, and I've been saying it all season, Gigi, so I'm trying to make us a bit sick of the idea, but we don't talk about the difference of left-handed players, especially in windy games like the one we have in front of us, although she says that wind seems to have all calmed down, which is brilliant news for everyone involved. But that difference with a left-handed player, if you're not wise to it as the mark, you're kind of going to get rinsed in many different angles, because it really just changes the nature of the positioning, what you're taking away, how you're taking it away. You know, just be active. But I don't think we'll see the Aussies make a blunder of marking Posada again.
That pull soaring out close enough to the brick mark, but on the sideline, so they're wanting to bring it back into the center of the pitch.
Loving the proper signal for brick these days. No longer a clap, just a single hand above the head.
Well, this is a new generation of players. They will probably have learned the sport with that newest iteration of the use of brick call. Carpenter throws into Lee. Lee having to take that extra quick aggressive step in to ensure that that goes into his chest. Sanga swings around. Beautiful movement in the hand of space, and Lee uncorks the backhand. Langston, tall reception. Fantastic pickoff.
Absolutely gorgeous read for Langston again. You can understand why at 174 centimetres tall with that big long wingspan that you'd see her as a favoured target for the Aussies in the end zone. Plays for Chile Ultimate, one of I think 3 or 4 Chile players out here for the Blue Bottles. Oh, what a ripper of a backhand, just really tricky to read that one, almost over the back of the head. A same third execution, always going to be tricky for you, but done very well by Curtis Lee.
It's that hand, the movement at the front that really allowed for that throw to come off so effectively. Obviously Lee showing that he's very experienced in his throws, but the movement between Sanga and Lee, Sanga's shepherding him round towards the break hand side, providing him the strong power position to rip open that backhand, and the beautiful read from Langston.
And round the back of the mark, if I do recall correctly. Curtis, so you said actually about these players having started their careers after the latest set of hand signals came in, Gigi. One of the things that's really apparent about this World Under-24 Championships is so many of the athletes have been playing for 5, 10, some of them almost 15 years, if you can believe it.
A lot of experience throughout this tournament. This experience being used here. Ariño, one of the more experienced players for this Colombian side. Giron, quick travel call, checks back in, having to bid. But a very difficult read. Not quite able to reel that in, Criollo.
Yeah, a very fair travel call that happened just in front of our booth, and kind of my eyebrows raised a little bit.
Lee back in for the D-line. Inside break, another break, backhand shot. We've got Wu. Wu collects. Marolanda's pressure not enough.
Wu, what a catch! James Wu with a fantastic box out. The way he sort of sat underneath that, keeping his presence of mind and space more importantly. Juan Andres Villalobos did a fantastic job on the mark, threw his leg up to cause that one to sit up and hang in the wind. Fabulous pressure, but yeah, that was a real aerial battle.
And that's Australia's first break of the game as well. We're now trading breaks. Criollo wanting to put her body on the line, full extension. That disc definitely floating. Almost looked like Marolanda could have gotten a piece of that, but Wu, strong, safe, confident, into the chest, and going out again on defense.
A little familiar face there, Ben Powley, one of the coaches, actually a Brit originally. played under-20s back in the day, couple of cycles ago now. The Aussies are actually saying, Gigi, that he's been really useful to be at this Nottingham tournament, because anything that you'd normally have to look up as a traveller, like how does this thing work, how do I do public transport, I don't know. Local knowledge actually just making, it's the little things sometimes, you know, the little things that make the ships sail out a little bit smoother.
Lowry with the Australian pull. Arino. Criollo back out again on offense. This Australian zone is getting really tight. And Colombia not providing very many options around the back. Giron having to come around as a backup dump option. That's soaring, but Giron chases it down. Villalobos. Australia also trying to contain Colombia, causing them to make some errors, but Giron, sorry, Acosta, full extension, saves the offense.
That's right, Gigi, the word you meant to say was hero, because that was an absolute save.
Arino to Villalobos. Slices through the cup, but the edge of that discraft disc just facing down hits the turf. Australia with another opportunity, getting a second break. Can they do it? Sadiq, massive fake into the defender.
Yeah, not a pleasant collision. Of course, absolutely not intentional. These things do just happen, though. Of course, Abdul Sadiq, sorry, having a fabulous game thus far, so you can understand why, if you're tasked with marking that athlete, you're going to be absolutely gunning for it.
Cool. Which one's calling foul? Which one's not contested?
Yeah.
Was it head to head?
It was head to head.
All right. Cool.
Yep, cool.
Well,
Zero. And what?
It was as soon as
All right. Foul uncontested, in on one.
Well, if you're head-to-head contacting on the mark, that probably means you're violating disc space, Gigi.
Ever so slightly. It might have just been the case that there was a fake into the head. Dicey shot through the middle from Deng. Finding the inside backhand, that is the second break for Australia. Jessica Lowry for the score. Now bringing the score to 7-5.
Well, well, well. I have to say, Arino got very, very close to the pick-off there in the end zone. You can see after the collision, a very loose mark to try and just kind of play a little bit of help here. You see, sets it, but quite far away. I'd prefer to see a bit of a tighter mark when you're in the end zone. Really try and, I mean, you can be flat if you want to and try and push your opponents wide, but a timeout call off the back of that triplet score for the Aussies.
I'm not surprised that Colombia wanting to take this second to breathe. Australia have gained some momentum, and Colombia have a lot to answer for. The score now 7-5, you're 1 point away from half. We're going to take a bit of a breather ourselves. Please do join us again in a moment. 2 breaks ahead in this first half. The score is currently 7-5 in Australia's favour. Hannah, how has this first half been going so far?
Well, it's been so tight until the Australians ripped the roof off in response to the first Colombian break. 3 on the bounce. You got a shot there of the armbands on the Aussie players, which they'd like us to mention is it's a memorial to one of the friends of a player who recently left us. Unfortunately, they are no longer going to be watching any live streams, but it's always nice to see for us on the live streams that little memorial for friends of teams just being respected, and of course a credit to the mental strength and the support from this team. So that was just a week ago, so hearts going out to all of them.
Marolanda wanting to take a deep shot of his own, but the intelligent defense from Deng picks it off. Wu in the end zone. Australia take half, 8-5.
My goodness gracious me. Well, nothing could stop the train. 2-2, say Australia. That's 4 on the bounce. I mean, we know the Colombians play with a lot of heart, GG, but it's going to take a connection between the mind, the heart and the legs, a full effort to try and snag this game back from the Aussies, who look in fine fettle indeed.
Yes, it's certainly taken a few points of trading back and forth to get the Aussies waking up, but it's been incredibly intelligent work. There's that long shot again from Sadiq. We're going to keep mentioning this player throughout the game. Beautiful flick. Saw James Wu running towards the end zone, full pace, and almost in disbelief himself. Like, what was that? I was there.
Well, Abdul Sadiq, you think from his stature, I mean, to be fair, he's not the tallest player ever, 6'1". The man originally from Sydney, currently in Canberra, playing, of course, his ultimate for Fishwick United, 2021 till the present day, but already stats leader coming in to this game, 16 across the tournament, 12 assists and 4 goals, so clearly making a name for himself with those extra slinky shots into the deep space.
So a strong and convincing first half for Australia. It certainly took a fair few points to get there. So you get to see a lovely shot of the fields. We get a view of our stats. Hannah, talk me through some of these stats.
Well, at the moment, the clean holds is definitely apparent. This game could be a little bit tighter in terms of the offensive execution, but it has been break chances. Both sides have had so many looks at the opportunities, but it's been Australia capitalising on them. And we're going to get a word from the man himself, aren't we, Gigi?
Yes, Abdul Sadiq, welcome to the booth. What a first half. It took a few points for you to warm up into it. Colombia were coming out quite intense. What was said during the timeout that brought you back into this game?
Well, it's a simple game, really. Catch and throw. We just needed to make sure that we hit the opener man. There was always someone open. Just to trust the system as well really helped us. So we have a system with the blue bottles, call it the bottles frizz. And yeah, it was just a matter of just trusting our players. We've got a really talented bunch. There's a lot of new upcoming talents coming through, and yeah, just about trusting, really.
So Abdul, we've been having some interesting situations of the very tight containment defense being played by Colombia. At what point have you felt the most uncomfortable trying to respond to your opponents?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I had one throw down deep where I thought it was on, but the Colombians probably wanted that throw, and then one that they got a hand block on. So it's just a matter of just moving it for us. We realized that if we just run with our legs, our throws will come, but we got to first work with our legs, and I think that's what really helped this small break train that we've got going on, and hopefully it continues.
Well, you do have a couple of extra personnel, so legs definitely should be staying underneath you. How are you feeling being the second game of the day at this week-long event?
Yeah, look, the body's been tired. I think the bottles have really put it in. Our results aren't as what we'd like it to be, but we've had some really tight games where we just keep grinding. Finland, South Africa, Chinese Taipei, Singapore, props up to you guys. You guys made us work. So bodies are definitely sore, but I think when it comes to this, we've got such a good energy going on. It's just a matter of just keep grinding, keep working for the team.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Abdul, and good luck for the rest of the game and for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you so much.
It always is great to be able to hear from the players themselves, their own perspectives of the game. Australia have taken half against Colombia, 8-5, and just as the players take a breather, we'll be back with you in a few moments. Don't miss the last bit of this game.
Teams representing 22 countries look to cement their legacy in Limerick at the 2023 European Ultimate Championships. You can join them. Watch live for free, only on LTTV.
Welcome back to the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships here in Nottingham. You're currently watching an extremely exciting game halfway through the mixed power pools. Colombia versus Australia. Hannah, how is this power pool shaping out?
Oh, well, it's spicy, and the Aussies are ready to try and hunt down their first win of the tournament. We talked about their really close results. Two universe point finishes against the Finns and the South Africans, and 3 and 2 points difference between Singapore mixed and Taipei mixed. So it really hasn't been quite the level from Australia that they've needed to get themselves in the top of the standings secured, but power pools means they're not out of the standings yet. Colombia did get the 1 win coming into this power pool against the People's Republic of China, but at the moment it's the Aussies taking charge, picking off the discs and the opportunities, but a drop pull, that's no way to start out a second half.
Yes, this wind has certainly picked up as we go into the second half, making that more difficult to read. Sadiq immediately picking up. Wide open cutter, Richard Lee, Abdul Sadiq, somebody we are going to be mentioning throughout this game.
Well, Richard Lee in isolation there, a shame. It's so hard to pick yourself up after that kind of moment of a drop pull. You can see all of the Colombians and all of the Australians giving themselves high fives. For the Aussies, it's like, yeah, keep doing it, keep flowing with what's working. For the Colombians, a little bit of just like, all right, that's fine, that happened, let's move on. So what confuses me a little bit here is just kind of, and it is difficult, no disrespect to the Colombians, but to not really hustle and put, you can really clearly see, right, that front player separated from the stack, classic end zone play. You know that that's the person they're looking for. What you want is a little bit of help D from the stack. Maybe it was a case of, you know, kind of the confusion, everyone already ready to be the other end of the pitch on the sideline, but a gimme and a gift for the Aussies.
Colombian offense raising their hands, signaling their readiness for the pull. That one sits nicely, but floats just off the sideline. Brick being called. Australia, by all appearances, seem to be setting up in match defense. Posada faking deep. But a big cluster of players. There was a pick called. It has been retracted as a result of the turn. Australia around the halfway mark. Lee rising inside flick, picked off by Criollo. Prieto. Criollo sends it. Dung instead into the chest. There is a call further up the pitch.
Or possibly a foul then on the throw of Criollo.
Judging by the movements, that does certainly seem to be the case.
Say that when they are at contact before, during, and after, it's called. So that is the reason that I call the call, because I have contact with your hand when I try to throw.
And you feel like it impacted your...
Yeah, and affected my throw. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, foul, accepted. In on one. Give me a second.
You can see Hannah Gregory assessing in her mind whether the contact itself had affected the throw, but regardless, it's a non-contact sport. Any contact is unfortunately against the rules.
You say unfortunately. It's one of the reasons I actually play Ultimate, Gigi, is because it's a non-contact sport.
Fair.
No non-consensual touching, please.
That I can agree with.
But
Criollo checked back in. Villalobos wanting the deep shot for himself, but it goes out the sideline. Gonzalez almost wanting to bid that for himself, but didn't like the looks of that.
Next time that Hannah Gregory is on the mark, check out her hands. Super fast, just like everywhere, all at once, all the time, which I love. Sometimes, obviously, clearly there was a little bit of contact there, a bit of hand-slappy action, but I love that dynamism.
Dynamism is a phenomenal word.
Verbiage, we bring it to you. That's why we're in the booth.
Lee takes the deep shot. Multiple receivers underneath, tipped by Sadiq, having Wu to bid. Fair amount of contact. And the Australian player still on the ground.
Nice. Hannah Gregory, is it not?
Yeah, a lot of contacts in the back. Not intentional, but still not ideal.
He's not involved. It was 97 on the play. It was 97 who was involved.
Because I don't think I had vision at all.
So he was the he was the Colombian involved, is what he was saying,
Okay.
not 33. Okay, but let's make sure she's okay, and then we'll resolve stuff.
Well, that was a big old bosh, and I'm really pleased to see Hannah Gregory getting back up with the assistance of her teammates.
You get to continue, or do you want to take the injury? Okay, we'll deal with this then.
And some whispering on the sideline. Foul late, we've already mentioned,
Them as well.
alongside head coach Pat.
She's the one calling foul.
How are you? He says that he wants to hear your position, because what he's feeling is that you jump at the same time, but he doesn't know is that if the collision is not letting you catch the disc. Okay, not only also not so much that you catch the disc, but that you have the position like Then I was knocked out of position and someone coming over the back of me because it flew this way when I should have gone back. Okay. So you feel that the collision is not letting you get in position. Taking into I missed one part. Sorry. Taking into account that you also collide with your teammate.
I don't think I was in the collision because I didn't have position.
Okay.
These two had position. I tried to go from this side, but I don't think I didn't hit you, and I don't think I hit her.
You feel that you don't.
I don't
take
think
part
I had.
here.
I
Okay.
didn't take part in that.
Entonces, ella siente que sí, que el choque.
Okay, guys, do we think we're going to come to an agreement? So from my perspective, there was contact between three of you. It was slight between you two, but then quite large between you two of coming over the back.
Okay, siente que hay muy poquita entre ellos dos. Eso es lo que siente.
Okay, foul accepted.
Okay.
So disc on 32, all is 0. Okay?
That discussion in and of itself is why I love Spirit of the Game. That you can have fair discussions, fair chats between different teams to come to a resolution that regardless of what happens, you can say, yep, I accept your position, let's continue.
And it's always nice to see game advisors using their vision particularly well, sort of almost saying what we all want to say here watching the stream.
Another call further up the pitch is being called out from Lowry.
Roll back the VT.
So, I think she's saying you caught with in la linea.
Yes. I'm saying that I caught it definitely in, and I may have run it out. Okay. If they call it out, I'm in trouble. I'm happy to bring it back in and take it from here. Okay. Entonces ella dice que ella la cogió adentro, pero que por el través. Okay, lo que yo se llama través, entonces ella. If she calls trouble, you're saying that you will accept it? Yeah. Que si llamas afuera, ella lo va a aceptar, pero que si llamas afuera, ella siente que suelta. Si ella lo agarra adentro, sí que sale. Yo lo que veo desde ella es que ella cuando what she's saying is that she saw that when you catch the disc, you were already outbound. Do you feel like you had perspective?
I did not have perspective.
Okay.
So it either stays as a contested out call.
Yeah. And will it start from there or here?
It goes back
To me.
to the thrower.
The throw is me.
Oh.
The call before the throwing, and I stopped when.
So, but it's on her catch, so it goes back to who threw it to her.
No, ella tiene perspectiva.
Oh, God. So,
Oh, they're saying it goes back to Graves.
Yeah, the second look of Lowry's catch from our perspective, that still looks in, but we have the benefit of getting to look at the replay. The players don't get that opportunity. Just going back to the original thrower.
Need a booth. We need a booth for them because they are, under the rule set, allowed to use media to assist photos, videos. Certainly, there have been some roving videographers who've been utilising that for other pitches.
Gregory throws the identical shot to Lowry. Dumps it back to Sadiq. Another call. Colombia not too happy with the Australian offense. Just coming in on 2 after the travel call. And again, back to Sadiq. Low flick, easy reception. Hannah Bradley for Australia, extending the margin. That's the 6th break in a row for Australia. Bring the score now to 10-5.
Tell you what I'm really impressed with at that point, Gigi. Aside from the... she accidentally hits my cough button to sniff. Oh, I hope you all enjoyed that sound. She says sniffing. Oh goodness, we're all sniffing now. It is quite windy and chilly up here in the booth, making our noses run a little bit. But anyway, back to my point. So I really enjoyed in that point not only the ability of the Aussies to play on through the stoppages, to not let that massively impact the way they were playing. They were just continuing to just roll through the motions, keep things nice and simple, but actually keeping things nice and cordial. When you have a lot of calls made in a game where maybe your perspective and your opponent's perspective seem to always be at odds to each other, it's easy to get sort of wound up, get frustrated, sort of, you know. One can't help but think of some other famous sporting Australians, maybe Nick Kyrgios, who does a little bit of that occasionally, shall we say, but certainly to not kind of let it get to you and stay everything really cordial, really spirited is really lovely to see from both sides.
I'm going to keep my own opinions of Kyrgios to my chest, but Colombia, slightly different offensive line. And Australia coming out with another zone. The Winds are certainly having picked up there, making a call for themselves. There's a foul, uncontested. Enjoying, again, the hand signals. Some discussions as to where the disc is going to stay. The foul didn't seem to affect the subsequent passes, so it's staying in the hands of Posada. And I mentioned that Posada was a sneaky lefty earlier on. And I do notice with a lot of left-handed players that they'll hold the disc in their right hand to continue their faking motion, and then we'll throw with the left. So that's the only reason why I call it sneaky, because you can't tell whether they're a left-handed or a right-handed player.
Clearly the righties need to do that too.
And maybe that's where I'm going wrong. But Frere picks it up in the bread basket. Australia with another break.
Hannah Phillips this time on the back end of it. And it just seems like at the moment the Aussies have found some magic here. I don't really know what's really happened to the Colombians. They seem to have just sort of lacked the concentration for the past 7 points. I mean, to be fair, that's a little bit mean. There was an Aussie hold in there, but we're seeing them throw into poachers. It's almost like, and it's impressive because they're playing in literally yellow shirts, which is one of the most visible kits out here on the pitches. It's like they've got invisibility cloaks on, and they're just there, and they just appear, and suddenly like, oh, hold on, I thought that was an open lane. Why is there an Australian in it? But for the Colombians, they need to just settle themselves, find some way to kind of bring back that pace and their energy. The Aussies have been playing some really stifling match defense. We haven't seen too much zone lately, which I like for them. The rhythm and the kind of intensity of that person coverage, clearly for both sides, is causing a little bit of quirkiness. We're getting some extended calls, but certainly that seems to be working out effectively for the green and gold.
The Colombian roster is certainly smaller than this large Australian counterpart. Having those extra legs can make a big difference. We did stream GB versus Colombia mixed earlier on in the tournament. Colombia initially starting firing in all cylinders, but GB did eventually take that win. That game is available to watch back on Ultiworld, as well as all the other coverage that we've brought to you so far and will be continuing to bring to you throughout the rest of this tournament.
Absolutely, maximum coverage.
Australia with poachy defense. Colombia opting to bring more of their female matching players into the backfield of the handlers. Fair amount of contacts on the back of Criollo there.
That's really unfortunate. Sometimes it does happen when you're playing tight, intense match defense. Hannah Bradley on the chase, just clipping the back ankle, I think. never intentional. These things do happen. But certainly, Criollo has been such a dynamic player for Colombia. Yeah, you can see there just a little bit of a clip on the heel, both players going down. But also, I have to say, Hannah Bradley, great body control in the air there, not to land on top of her opponent.
Yes, completely unintentional. Hopefully Criollo can recover from that quite well. The Australian medical team also coming in to assist and aid.
And coach Juan Prieto as well, alongside his players, so plenty of time for the athlete on the pitch just to recover herself.
We will continue bringing you some updates as to how this continues. Australia up 11-5. We continue with this mixed power pool play between Australia and Colombia. Ana Criollo, thankfully, has been able to step off
I'll
the
bring
pitch.
it to you.
Gameplay will restart again with Umania on disc. The uncontested foul, now restarting play. Acosta fakes the up line, takes the around. Giron, a pick call. Contreras was quite free.
Yeah, you could sort of see that one developing as he kind of came through the centre of the pack of players in front of the disc.
A lot of cuts coming under. A lot of options to choose from, but it does mean that it's very clustered. Barragan to Ramos. Big fake from Ramos. Pivoting, Giron. Again, a lot of undercuts, almost too many options, too much to choose from. A lot to take your pick. Alzate. Now centimeters outside the front. Very quick pass to Giron. Travel call, check back in. Acosta. Inside backhand break, just miscommunication. Australia opting to take their time. Lee sauntering up. Beautiful shot over the top, it does float. A lot of Colombian defenders underneath. Off the chest. Just bouncing, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's almost like it needs its own sort of sound effect when it happens to a disc that just pings off the chest.
Sadiq with the huge fakes. Lee, across to Bradley. Utilizing the whole width of the pitch. Fantastic use of lateral cuts and another pick downfield.
Are those some non-sporting sunglasses currently under that cap? That's a real vibe.
Some very casual sunglasses as well. I've seen some sports sunglasses around. We saw some from Sweden this morning, but not some that are as stylish as that.
Hopefully they're shatterproof.
Jinking and jiving up the line, another pick. Stall count is rising quite high. There may be a quick bailout option. We have seen some very impressive throws from Sadiq already in this game.
Yeah, he's pretty ridiculous.
You've been waiting on that one.
I had to get it in before the game finishes.
And the around backhand. Stall out, called, tap on the head. This will be discussed. I always love the reenactment of calls. It's one of my favorite things to watch.
8, 9, 10.
Okay, then I'm going to call violation because you said 7. We agreed to 7.
Yeah.
And then you said 8.
Yeah, but it's stalling 8.
Is it stalling 8 or is it stalling 7? If we agreed that it's coming in on 7.
It should be stalling 7.
Stalling
Okay.
7?
Okay, yeah.
Violation?
Okay.
Or is it,
No,
are
no.
you retracting?
Yeah.
So it stays with Deng?
Yeah.
That is some phenomenal spirits. Usually you'd anticipate that the disc would remain in the hands of the initial thrower who the stall out was called on, but very fair. The 7-cut spin move between the handlers. Again, the downfield cutters providing a lot of space for those handlers to move, giving lovely flow. Up the line, woo! Australia now separating the margin, 12-5.
Adding another to his tally, James Wu. But that point was all about, I think, the Colombians' choice to have a no-dump offense in that end zone. Compare and contrast the Aussie possession for that goal. They had 3 out of the end zone, allowing themselves that channel forward to be able to push through from the back. Let's watch that one back. Wu with a little bit of give and go motion, but great discipline from the rest of the stack. At the moment, when the Colombians were on offense to the right of us on a shot from the overall field cams, little celebration there, love that little fist bump from Richard Lee, but it really was a case of them getting in each other's way, kind of allowing, I mean, that's a defender's dream, right? When you have a cluster of people looking a little bit unorganized in the end zone in that manner, not really, because you need to basically have perfect timing on those shots. At the moment, that's not the case for the Colombians. They're a little bit off the beat. And they're phenomenal dancers, but unless they can find the rhythm, this game is going to slip away from them.
And hopefully that rhythm they can find. That pull floating off to our closer sideline. It's going to be brought in again on the brick mark.
And I suppose we should really emphasize what the meaning of this game is, Gigi. Power pull stages. This is what will hopefully be a second spot in the power pulls for the Aussies, because they lost to Chinese Taipei earlier today.
Australia setting up that zone. 3 marks up the front, trying to block in and contain those handlers and any pops that come through. A central mark, 2 wings, and a deep person. But Colombia finding that space up the line. Villalobos. Ariño trying to cut in, does find Ariño eventually. Ariño communicating with the other handlers, trying to get them to move into the cup, saying, I need you to move a few more meters, come on. Taking the spinning backhand. There's a top receiver, but that is a phenomenal catch at the back line in the end zone. Valentina Ramos for Colombia, giving them their first point of the second half.
Well, it took a while to get there, but what a point it was. A throw into the space that Ramos had no idea was coming initially, and then a fabulous run down and box out to just keep Gabe Eady on the back shoulder. You get to see that, the reaction speed, and just turns on the rockets at her heels Almost like she's wearing some XCOM footwear, designed, of course, for this spot by Ultimate players themselves.
And that backhand, so blasé. Initially had faked the inside shot. Saw Ramos going deep with a very tall defender at her back as well. And it was just a quick wrist flick. Lots of spin, perfectly sitting into the back corner of the end zone.
Do you think that shot there was a reaction to Ramos finding out that she's not on this line? She has a little sort of like almost frustrated, like, oh, come on, I want to get back on, put me in, coach, put me in.
It's tempting to feel like that. After that kind of momentum, you score a point and you're thinking, I just want to go again.
I mean, I'd use that, right? Like, if you're in that position as a player and someone's running your clipboard, let the person know, be like, I'm so ready, put me in, put me straight back in. Because if you don't say, they'll never know.
Rolling pull stopped around the brick mark. Sanger across the Strachan. Carpenter has quite a few options. Upton having to come back after the pick call.
Okay.
This coming in on stalling one. Columbia choosing to go for a backhand force. Sanger slashes up the line, takes the power position into Langston. Langston again, a force to be reckoned with in that deep space. Dumps it back to Carpenter. Wanting that dump option has Upton. Upton having to rise, tips it. Columbia, another opportunity. Taking their time in the back. Swinging it around to the close sideline. Hand block from Upton. No call. Denied.
Well, find you a player who can get the disc back after they tip it away from themselves. Jake Upton was so powerful in the early stages for Australia. Had a quiet midsection, but he's returned.
Sanger, forehand fake. Inside shot, Upton soaring in the air. Lee. Hammer! Tipped off and well caught! Oh my goodness! How did Gabriel Eadie catch that?
Taken off his glove and thrown it down with the disc. Oh my lord. Jake Upton, danger, high voltage hammers on the electrical lines over the top for the young electrician by trade. Coming out of Crank Wollongong Ultimate scene, but that was all about grabbing that one for Gabriel Eadie, but getting the disc back. So that's some double happiness there.
That was not an easy hammer to catch either. There were a multitude of Colombian defenders who were rising to the same level as the Australian receivers. It's a phenomenal catch under pressure.
Absolutely, he's a very juggly boy, is Gabe Eadie. Although he's got a lot of arm to be able to do it with his 6'6", very statured athlete. And to be fair, those two probably have a bit of experience together because they're both Crank boys. I say boys, obviously men. You know, just give them their credit and their due. It's under 24s, but these younger athletes, not quite youth players.
Score now 13-6. Columbia looking at a mountain to climb. Villalobos comes to Acosta, finds a wide open Giron. In Australia, 3 female matching players poaching in this front set. It's a beautiful backhand dicey shot. Flick rising. Ariño. Well read, my goodness. That was picture perfect offense.
Wasn't that like Anhib Giron with the throw, right?
Yes.
Beautiful stuff. My one critique, really, of the Colombian female matching players, be more netball with your footwork. Netball, you're only allowed 3 steps. They're really particular. Sometimes crossover athletes who play ultimate and netball as well will find themselves a little bit unstuck. But that's a lot of extra step on that throw. I mean, obviously, it is a beautiful execution, but it's my one critique, I think, of the female matching players on Colombia is they are a little bit loose sometimes with taking the extra steps. You get someone I like to call the riding the saddle of the kind of the back and forth of moving the weight between the legs, really moving that pivot around. Not super gainy, doesn't really get you too much of an advantage, but the footwork rules are there for a reason.
So you can see the Australian players, as they line up, they are signaling the gender that they are matching. So the extended hands for male matching, hands behind the head for female matching, just to eliminate any sort of confusion, should there be any.
And of course, we're playing under gender rule ratio A, where there's no sort of choosing in it, it's just a strict pattern of 2 of one and then the other.
Oh, clap catch bubble, Carpenter saves. And Colombia coming out with a zone of their own. Blady flick, Sadiq collects, has a wide open Langston into the waiting hands. Australia within 1 point of taking this game, 14-7.
Massive shout out to Danielle Toledo, really running that one down hard, but a fantastic effort to just stay absolutely clear of Langston, who held her nerve. That must have been a little bit of a scary, hairy moment, just sitting and waiting for that disc to arrive to her. But what a lovely section of play. Sadiq puts that one up beautifully. Could have had a little bit more loft on it, perhaps.
I love how the past 2 wonderful throws that we've had, you've been like, that was great, but hang on a second.
Picky. This is what happens when you play a lot of world events, Gigi. Your standards get too high. But it works out dreamily for the Aussies. And first match point, Gigi. What do you reckon? A clean hold for Colombia and then an O point for the Aussies? Or is it going to be a grisly, grindy break?
Oh, I would put my money on there being at least 2 turnovers, but not as a result of execution errors, but purely as a result of the fire and the grit that both of these sides are going to be bringing.
Well, it has to be said that the Colombian O-line has been pretty clean this game. Of course, they've had to grind back some ones against the D of Australia, but when they're good, they're really great. So let's see what's going to unfold.
That ball floats. Australian defense able to join their Colombian counterparts. And again, wanting to slow them down with this zone. They do have Edie towards the back. That was picked up. Oh my goodness, Ariño couldn't expect that either. Edie gets the hand block.
Okay, Edie. He could have done a little bit to like crouch down and pick the disc off in front of the laying offensive player, but that's a big old bosh in the center field. Ariño going to the ground in not a great way. Hopefully he's all right.
He's certainly calling the injury.
Did you see what happened there? Because I have to confess, I didn't catch it.
I was still reeling from Edie's knee block out. He was already on his way down to the ground as he started swatting his hand. As you mentioned earlier on, a very tall stature, so he's got a long way to go. Thankfully, Ariño is able to make his own way off of the pitch.
Yeah, 2 meters of body to flail around. Although, of course, the fun thing about being at the height, obviously your wingspan goes even further than that. So I wonder, that would be a really interesting statistic to know. We talk about the ape index.
index.
Yeah. It's a really interesting statistic to know actually sort of on the diagonal how big you are at your biggest point, what your overall reach radius is.
Yeah, because you can be 2 meters tall, but you can then also be only like 1.5 meters by arms, and that's just not as useful. Well, depends on who you're talking to, really depends on the sport.
I'm big on the ape index with the reach being bigger, because they can give you really big cuddles.
Well, they can just tickle you from much further away.
I think that's probably an accurate description of our life experiences, Gigi.
We digress. Australia have checked the disc back in, having to dish behind them. Colombia opting for match. And again, this offense setting up with the cutters further downfield, giving lots of space for the handlers to give and go between them. Continuations coming from the front of stack. Lee with Deng dishing back and forth. The bid from Marulanda unsuccessful. Richard Lee uncorks. Multiple receivers in the end zone, tipped up.
Oh, that was a lot of energy coming out of Gonzalez there into the back of Meg Graham, who I have to say was doing a great job of stretching the field for Australia. Would have been nice to see her sprint a bit more, but that was a great effort, a shift at the back. But I think the target that tempted the thrower was Eric Deng.
She just did. Yeah. Yeah, we can let her. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it will call foul though. I think I was up and then got knocked. I think I do have a good chance of catching it. But
ella siente que mira hacia arriba, nunca te ve y que si no hubiera sido por el contacto, ella lo alcanzó a atrapar.
El asunto es que yo desde mi perspectiva,
His perspective is
yo vengo limpio por un lado, como mi marca también, sí, mi marca también busca en la intención al disco una colisión triple y no estoy seguro que el contacto haya sido mi parte. No lo considero, yo considero que yo me choqué fue con mi marca.
All right. He says that he goes with his mark, who's him, and he believes and he felt that the contact was a triple one, and he's not sure that the contact is actually from him. It could be from him as well. So we understand the play at that.
yeah.
Oh, I think I was out of the play in that. I didn't go on, so I don't believe the contact was from him.
All right. All right. So it's faulty.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Are you okay? Okay.
So contested foul, disc will go all the way back to Lee. But the number 55 of Meg Graham will be taking an injury substitution.
Yeah, very shaken up. So I don't think we'll see her return to the field, certainly, 'cause, well, unless the Colombians can really put together an amazing comeback, which I don't deny we would be excited to see. Last game of the day, David Oxendale, our stats keeper, indicating he'd like this one to be wrapped up. So clearly he's going to be giving all of his favour to the Aussies to wrap this.
It's got mushroom risotto on mind.
That's true. From Tom Stiles himself. This, of course, his local town.
Checked back in. Gregory back off to Lee. Deng. Lee and Deng giving quick give-goes between themselves, involving Graham as well. Apologies, Gregory. It's the front of the end zone layout. Bids holds on. Isabel Chissenden.
Well, exceptional spirit, Chittenden. No, she didn't quite grab that one all the way through, but what a great bid regardless. The injury sub, I think, for Graham.
I did doubt that for a second myself. So yes, phenomenal spirit. But again, across to Acosta. Gonzalez. Villalobos is going deep. Has the extra meters. And that was weighted perfectly. Colombia ensuring that they are still within this game. 14-8, another hold.
Well, there was indeed back and forth in that point, but we were very, very close. 2 opportunities, not quite gotten there for the Aussies. Ground strips, not the first we've seen on this live pitch today.
Flying defenders as well. That Gonzalez throw, my word, again, almost another high release flick. It seems to be the correct option with the way that the wind is floating. If you're on that high side towards the far end of the end zone, you're just having to like pop it up into the air. So it's a phenomenal throw to have in your holster.
Oh, absolutely, and indeed, it's the correct choice, especially in the current wind conditions. You want to be, if you're releasing on that sideline, any kind of flick, you want it to be flat, or with an inside choke, it's going to curve to the inside and then back out again, so it can fight against this windy crosswind condition. Well, Gonzalez not called on the line there and expressing himself. A 17-year-old playing in this under-24s division, so watch out for him in the future.
He's certainly got a few more cycles left.
Yeah, just a couple.
Pick call. Carpenter is currently unmarked. I'm not sure whether that is entirely intentional, just to let the person on disc to be completely unmarked, or
probably not completely, although it does create some fun decisions to see the mark trotting in.
Langston has to take it high, but does so. Carpenter has a wide open dump as well. Again, a fair few cuts coming off the front of Stack, but having to go for the dump option instead. Not liking what he's seeing. Miscommunication off the back. The jink from Lee confused Sadiq.
Well, maybe a little bit of rush, haste getting into the minds of the Aussies, thinking about their dinner and beds waiting for them after this game. A long day.
Posada underthrows to Ramos. Australia now taking their time. They do need to take this breath. We've got the 1-6 set up. Wanting the inside backhand. Sadiq again with that 7 cut. It's so dangerous. Incredibly agile player. Carpenter coming under. Throws back to Upton. Surveying the end zone. Has the inside shot to Langston. My goodness, that was a convincing win for Australia. There was a lot of back and forth. Australia went on a really strong roll for that center part of the game, taking half and have proven themselves, taking this win 15-8.
Well, that's a bit more like it for Australia. Mixed came into the tournament as tipped for going deep into the championship bracket, and that will help their hopes here in the power pool stages. Finishing us off, Natasha Langston, another youngster out here, only 19 years of age, and she's been playing for 4 years, Gigi, but only just really taken Frisbee seriously for the past 12 months. But clearly, Australia are here to do some serious business. Commiserations to Colombia. I think in terms of perhaps their games to come, it'd be nice to see a little bit less contact on discs high in the air, but played with a lot of heart and grit. They said ahead of this game they wanted a performance that they could have their mums be proud of backhand. To shout out to all of the Colombian mums, you did indeed make them very proud.
They certainly caused a shake-up and a good stir. At that front section of the game, the first few points, it looked like it was going to be going toe-to-toe. They were trading holds. A fair few turnovers as well, but Australia made that small adjustment, particularly in their offense. As we had the interview at halftime with Abdul Sadiq, it's just a game of throwing and catching. It's just that simple, and Australia were able to make that convincing change, getting break after break after break.
I'm really excited to, after our sideline interview, get a look at the stats of this game, because there's a real section in the middle of this game where the Aussies became quite ruthless, Gigi. So we'll talk about our break chances that were given, but we're going to get a sideline interview with the wonderful Natasha Langston. So three goals for her in this game of the full 15 available, and we didn't get our full 100 minutes, Gigi.
Yes, we now have Natasha Langston on with us. Australia with an amazing win. You went on a run of breaks. How are you feeling after that game?
Quite tired, to be honest, but very happy for the team. Very stoked that we got our win. We worked really hard for it, and yeah, I'm just happy we came down with it.
So, Natasha, we actually just said at the end of that game, when you obviously got that winning score yourself, you said you've only been taking Ultimate super seriously for the past year. What's inspired you to kind of step up here?
I think just the welcoming community. So I started at my university at Deakin, and just like the banter of everybody. I love a lot of fun chats, so I just kept being drawn back to all the competitions and all the opportunities that kept being provided, and I'm very competitive as well, so that always brought me back.
Yes, you've earned yourselves a well-earned dinner, a well-earned rest. What are your plans for the rest of this evening?
I'm not too sure. I'll probably celebrate a bit, go catch up with the Goannas and Stingrays, the other two Australian teams, but just hang out with the team for a bit longer.
Yes, well, thank you so much for chatting to us. Congratulations on a phenomenal performance, and good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So that was Natasha Langston for the winning Australian team in the mixed power pools. We have some more exciting matchups.
Well, and look at this, the break chances for Colombia, 8, and they were only able to get 1. The midsection of this matchup was really all about absolute dominance from the D-line of the Aussies. Of those break chances that were taken, you had 4 of them from the end, or the midsection of the first half to be the beginning of the second half. 4 on the bounce, absolutely dominant, just get the disc, score, get the disc, score. The Aussies have found it. I don't know what it is, but they found it.
Yes, it has been a phenomenal game overall. Some fantastic throws that we've seen from both sides. Bits all over the place. We saw that incredible hand block from Richard Lee. And this grab, honestly, my favorite of the game, Canzino. You can see how much it has meant for this Colombian side. They're really about community and trying to build up the sport. Abdul Sadiq, the player who we spoke to during the halftime matchup. And Australia reining it in. A convincing win, that super casual inside break. Australia taking the win, 15-8 against Colombia. Phenomenal game. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Gigi Morrison here with Hannah Pendlebury. We will see you soon.